too. All right. This much for your additions, this much for the actual head. So we're going to shape it into a ball. If you're having, especially once you've cut, yep, that would be good. Once you've, I'd do more, actually. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Once you're kind of shaping your ball, I've got lots of like wrinkles and creases, so I am gonna take time with my finger just to try to smooth those out a bit. Now remember, you will be hollowing these out next week, so we are not just leaving it solid because that would take a very long time for the clay to dry out in the center. So just keeping that in mind, that eventually we will be hollowing the heads out. So that's why we'll do that, I believe, on probably Tuesday. And then that will allow you then to do the additions like hair, like hats, like any other sorts of details that you would need for your sculpture and for communicating your chosen idiom. Once you've gotten all those creases and wrinkles kind of smoothed out, I'm going to start patting my ball of clay. So I'm gonna hold, this is how I do it. I'm gonna hold it in my left hand, kind of cup it like this, and then it's like I'm kind of smacking it upward. Because think about how a head is. The top of your head's gonna be wider and thicker, and then it's gonna narrow down to kind of your chin. So that's what we're creating. Or think about an egg. You know, eggs aren't perfectly round like a ping pong ball. You know how they have that egg shape. So we are making little egg heads. I want you to also keep this in mind. This is wet clay that's very malleable. So as you're gonna do things on it today, if you set your head down on a flat table and then you start pushing and working on it, you're gonna develop a flat back of the head. So you got a couple options for that. I always, when I'm doing any sort of work, I'm always kind of cradling with the palm of my left hand as I'm doing things. And as I'm kind of pressing, I'm definitely not keeping my hand firm and flat. I'm really trying to keep it the shape of the head so that I'm not losing that roundness in the back. But then on occasion, you might have to kind of tap it back into shape if it flattens a bit. You also may go ahead and find a sponge, like a smaller sponge, and you could rest your head on that sponge on the table as you do things as well. You just really don't want to have it unusually flat on the back, because that will just, you know, we're going for kind of what is like that human proportion and shape of a head. And these days, babies wear those helmets now. Like so many babies wear those helmets so that they don't have the cranial like flattening of their heads. Have you guys seen that before? A baby with those? Seems like it's more common now. It's more common now than when you guys were babies. It didn't occur as much. All right, so everybody got their little egg shape? Your little egg head? Yep. Once it looks like this, you're gonna then take your plastic sewing needle, or if you've got a metal one, you just need a way to draw lines, making sure you can see. I'm just checking out myself here. There we go, now I'm more straight on. All right, so I'm gonna draw what I want you to draw. So I'm gonna draw it first, and then I want you to copy what I did. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a vertical line all the way down the middle of my egg head, like so. Then I'm gonna think about that. Remember what I mentioned? Our eyeballs sit exactly in the middle of our head. So I'm thinking about the top of the head and then the bottom of the head, and then really truly going to that middle mark And I'm going to draw a line that goes horizontal across my egg head. All right, so I'll leave that there for now for you guys to catch up with me. All right, once you've done that, now we're gonna mark where the mouth and nose are gonna go. And so if we look at from where the eyes are to the bottom of our head, I'm gonna go right in the middle again, kind of eyeball the middle. And that's what I'm gonna say is where the mouth is gonna go. So I just put a line like that. Like so. And then the next thing, we're gonna mark where the nose is gonna go. So I'm just gonna go in between the eye line and the mouth line. I'm gonna put kind of in the middle there is where I'm gonna say the nose is gonna be. All right, so I've got, you can kind of see a face a little bit, right? Can you envision a face? Sort of. Are you able to see it? Oh, is there a glare on the screen? So then once you have this, the next step is we're going to use our pinkies to press in to the clay to make eye sockets. And so again, I want to encourage you to watch me do it and then do it because I think that'll inform you. But I want to know when you guys are ready for it. Are we ready? Do we have our lines? Our nose line, our mouth knot line, our eye line. So here's where you'll notice already, like I'm kind of picking up my head and already just by simply setting it on the table without putting really much pressure, it's already starting to flatten. So just be mindful of that. So now I'm gonna hold it in the palm of my hand as I take my pinky. So I'm looking at my, kind of where I'm gonna put my eye sockets. I'm gonna just draw a line like kind of where I'm planning to push in and just kind of see, okay, does that work? I probably should go a little bit closer here. All right, so I'm gonna go with that second line, not that first line. So I'm just taking my pinky and I'm cradling the head as I'm pushing in. So I'm kind of pushing in and I'm gonna try to give like even pressure so that my eye sockets kind of equal in depth. So there's my first eye socket. So I push this way, then I push this way. Whoops, and then my finger just kind of did its own little thing, so I just made it even deeper. That's okay. I'll just try my best to match them up. And now I'm gonna do it on this side where I marked it. So I'm just pressing in, and then I'm pressing on the other side. Our fingers really are one of our best sculpting tools. All right. So now I've got my eye sockets, and I think they're fairly equal in depth. You know, just kind of, and the reason why I'm being mindful of that is because then I'm gonna make the same size shape eyeballs. So if I put them in different sized eye sockets, like depth, then one would maybe be sticking out further than the other. And my goal is trying to create like facial proportions. I think it really starts to have that like skeleton look with the eye sockets already. Yep. And then once you've once you have your eye sockets and you have all your lines, you can kind of set your little head aside, because the next thing we're gonna do is we are going to make eyeballs. Yeah, they have a little bit of like a skeleton look. They remind me of a certain cartoon, like animation. Is it Tim Burton? Yeah, and I always think of like his stuff when we're at the stage. Okay, so with our extra clay here, I'm gonna just pinch off. I'm gonna say it's like the size of a little red grape, or maybe not a little, medium, large. I don't know. I haven't had grapes lately. I would say medium. All right. We are going to, because there's 2 eyeballs, we're going to make 2 eyeballs before we put them into the eye sockets. Because remember, we're trying to create symmetrical body parts. So we want to kind of do them at the same time. So here I've got my little size of a grape, red grape. I rolled it into a ball, and then I'm going to divide it in half. You know, that's just kind of the technique I use. So now I have 2 halves, and then I'm going to roll them into 2 eyeballs. I am not sure if these are going to be big, bulgy eyeballs or if they're going to be just right or too small. Verdict is out, because the next thing you're going to do is you're going to place the eyeballs into the eye sockets and then judge whether you think these are bulgy eyeballs, too big. Are they just right? Are you going for a bit more of an exaggerated facial features? Like, do you want more of like a caricature of a human for your sculpture? So this is an aesthetic, artistic choice. Or do you want things to be more proportionate, more, you know, typical of what you would see? You get to decide. I am deciding these eyeballs are too big, so I'm going to reduce the size of the eyeballs. And so I'm going to do that by just kind of taking them both out and then cutting away the same amount on each side to the best of my abilities. So I'm going to cut away about 1/3 of each of the eyeballs. And then try again. So re-roll them, insert them in. Oh, much better, much better. Another choice that you could make if you're finding that the eyeballs are just like bulging out of the sockets, you could deepen the sockets. You could kind of push in even further to kind of embed the eyes in. I am good with this because imagine once I get eyelids on and a nose and stuff, it'll feel like it's embedded in there. Once you are happy with your eyeballs and eye sockets, you can go ahead and score them, slip it, attach it. I'm not going to suggest to you that we need to cover our tracks because I'm going to show you how to put eyelids on the top and bottom, which will like really embed the eyes. So I'm just going to go ahead again, do a back of the head check. Look how flat mine is starting to get flat. So I got to do a little bit of rounding. We really want to be mindful of the shape of the head these first couple of days, because after a while it'll start to turn leather hard, and then you can't easily reshape the head. I've got to dream up my idiom. What's another idiom related to hearts? Because I have a heavy-hearted, light-hearted, cold-hearted.
Yeah. You do like little ice cube.
Yeah, I'm gonna do cold-hearted. I'm just running with this heart theme. Makes me think of that song that Paula Abdul. Are you familiar? She has not really had a recent hit, but she has a song about being a cold-hearted snake. I'm just dipping my plastic needle into the water to kind of create a slip as I'm scoring in the eye sockets. Just enough so that it feels like there's like a good amount of slip in there to really kind of act like the glue to hold in the eyeballs. Be mindful as you're scoring, like are you changing the depth of your eye sockets? All right, so I got that. Now I'm gonna score the back sides of my eyeballs. All right, and then I'll just nestle those in. And I'm just doing a little bit of like a gentle kind of twist with the scored clays, kind of making them kind of really cling to one another. So there's one eye, and then I'll do the other eye. Right, and then I can already tell one of my eye sockets was a little bit wider and deeper, so I'm just gonna try to shape around it best I can, pushing that clay back. All right, so I've got both my eyeballs scored, slipped, attached. Want to encourage you to look at your sculpture as you develop it and do additions to it from all the different angles, from below, from the side, from above. Kind of checking out my skull looks a little off, so I'm gonna just constantly be kind of shaping and tapping that, making sure I don't have a flat back of the head. When we go to put these on the shelf, this like over the weekend, I want you to wrap it up, and then you could even take a few paper towels and kind of crinkle them up just to make almost like a little nest to lay it on the side so that it doesn't have as much flat, hard surface for the gravity to slowly push the clay down. So we'll be sure to do that before you put everything away. All right, the next thing that we need to do is eyelids, so that we feel like these are not like fly eyes, like the insect, the fly. We want to make them look like they're embedded into the skull with an upper lid and a lower lid, and then imagine putting a brow bone and even a cheekbone underneath it so that the eye will start to be more like in the head versus bulging out. So I'm gonna take a chunk of clay, and this is probably more than I need, but it's about a little bit more than what I used for the eye balls. And then I'm gonna cut that in half again, same approach. So I've got the two. I'm gonna roll them into two separate balls. This time, I know I did this in the video if you watched the video, but this might be a new thing if you didn't watch the video. I'm gonna take the two balls of clay, and I'm going to flatten them with my thumb just by pressing them into the canvas. So I just did one on each side. Now I'm going to flip them over and then do it again. I find that this technique works, but it makes for like a really thick eyelid. So I do a lot of thinning out once I attach it. So just kind of bear with me. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to make it so that they'll fit over the eyeballs. So it almost looks like a person at a spa with cucumbers over their eyes. But I made them large enough so that they'd fit over, because then I'm gonna cut them in half, and then voila, I've got an upper lid and a lower lid. So that's kind of been my typical approach. I wanna encourage you again, if you've got a different idea of how you'd like to go about doing this, just as long as you're properly scoring, slipping, and attaching, you'll be fine. So you can definitely, I'm just showing you a suggested way. You do not have to do it the way I'm showing you. It's just what I have found to be, I have found success doing it, so I'm just sharing my technique, but you certainly do not have to do it the way I'm doing it. All right, the next thing I'm gonna do is, and this is again, I highly recommend this approach. Always kind of prep your pieces that you're gonna add to your sculpture first, like on both sides, before you start attaching. So I'm gonna cut my, my eyelid now, and I'm gonna go kind of 2/3, 1/3 when I'm cutting it. So I'll draw a line just to kind of show you, so that the upper lid is actually gonna be larger than the lower lid, just because that's kind of just how proportionately our lower lid is much smaller than our upper lid. So that's why I'm doing the kind of 2/3 to 1/3. So you can see these lines here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cut through. And then I'm gonna lay them on top. So I'm gonna give a, go up on top, and you'll see in a minute what I mean when I say these are very thick eyelids. So, but I'll do a lot of thinning out as I attach them. Already, when you are starting to put your eyelids onto your sculpture, here's your first decision that you need to make. Do you want your sculpture to have their eyes open? Do you want the eyes to be closed? Do you want them to be really opened really large, or open or squinting just a little bit? Yes. Okay. Yes. So do you want the inside eyeball to be candy, or do you want it to be more yeah. Right. So you think laying a peppermint over the eye is the peppermint. Yes, perfect. Do you want the peppermint to have a plastic wrap on, it's got little twists? Yeah, so and you could even kind of have them kind of offset, yeah, so I think that's a great idea. So yes, as you're sculpting, students, you're gonna have to make individual aesthetic choices to support your chosen idiom. I am now doing cold-hearted, even though I want to do warm-hearted. Is that an idiom too, warm-hearted? They're very warm-hearted. Cold-hearted, I think, is more creates, I don't know.
I've never heard.
I'm gonna go with cold-hearted. Just okay. So now I'm
You can create a new one.
I know. Any other heart idiom? I don't know. I'm gonna go with So if I think cold-hearted, that's not very friendly and warm. I'm just gonna have the eyes just open, and we'll work with that because maybe all right, so I have not attached anything here. I just kind of adjusted where I'm kind of angled the upper lids. Now I'm gonna start attaching. Here's how I do it. I take one piece off at a time. Then I go in and I score it up. So I'm scratching both part of the eyeball and above the eyeball. I'm gonna grab a little bit of water, and then I'll score the back side of the eyelid, and then I'll attach it. Then I'll go to the other upper eyelid, so I'm kind of attaching everything that's kind of similar. It just gives me the opportunity to make sure I'm making things more symmetrical than not. Scoring up the back of the eyelid, and then I'm gonna kind of refer to the one that's already there as reference for the angle. All right, and then I'm just pressing it down. I'm not gonna smooth it out yet. I even wait to do that until I have all of them adjusted, and then I kind of do them at the same time. I have found that has helped me with keeping things matching and symmetrical. So it's kind of having a method. So that would be technique and thinking of craftsmanship as well, kind of referring to the rubric. I'm scoring up this side. Okay. Okay, so I've got the top lids match pretty well. Now I'll do the lower lids. Okay, getting that lower lid attached. And eventually I'm going to be smoothing a lot of this away, so it's not going to be so thick. Because right now, the lids are quite thick. I'm just scoring the back side of this one. Make sure there's enough slip going. You don't need a ton of slip, just enough. So I just find dipping the tip of the needle that I'm working with does the trick. All right. Okay. Again, I've got a flat back of my head when I'm picking it up, so I'm gonna kind of do a little padding on the back. And now it's got, now it looks like another like popular movie character. I just can't quite think of it, but it's got a real caricature. And I have a tendency, like my sculptures are proving to always look, does it look like E.T.? Is that, yeah, it does have an E.T. But I am noticing I have like a style with my sculptures. You may find if you do this over and over again, that you kind of develop your own aesthetic. All right, so here everything is scored, slipped, and attached, and now I'm gonna cover my tracks. And so I'm just gonna start by just kind of pulling the clay on the lid like around so that you don't see that seam anymore. So I'm pulling that around. I'll do it on the bottom as well. So I've done the first eye. Still, I've got very thick lids. So I'm gonna put like gentle pressure on that to thin them down and maybe pull away more. But for right now, I'm just making sure that what I've added to my sculpture is not gonna eventually dry and pull away from the base. And then I'm doing the same thing here. Okay, I'm gonna take the needle tool here and try to clean up this edge. There, like a little bit of the clay got flared. So I'm just gonna kind of clean that away. Remember, like next week, as your clay starts to firm up and turn leather hard, and doing like refinements and smoothing out details, using just a gentle small paintbrush with some water will do wonders. But if you can see, I've got very thick eyelids here, so I'm gonna do a little kind of thinning them down by just tapping on them, putting a little pressure, and then I'm gonna try to kind of pull them away, maybe pull it up towards the forehead. And I'll just try to do it so that they're even on both sides. So cold-hearted, so I need to make this not look very friendly, so I'm just kind of wondering about the eyes, but I think I've got a little bit of what looks like a little furrow. I'm gonna do like a furrowed brow. I'm kind of thinking through my choices for facial expressions. So now the eyelids are much thinner, and I think I'll leave it like that. Now, the iris and the pupil in your eye is another opportunity for you to make choices. You could leave the whole entire eyeball just plain and then plan to paint details like the iris and pupil in with watercolor. That's one option. Another option is you could take your needle tool and you could do a little sgraffito scratching in to the eye to create like an iris in the eye and the pupil. What I'm going to do for today is I'm going to do the third option that I haven't told you about, but I'm going to just pierce a hole in the middle for the pupil. That's a very, very traditional sculptural technique to take that clay away. So I'm just going to take the plastic needle tool and I'm just going to poke a hole in the eye like so. So I just put a hole in there, and I'm gonna do it on the other side. And then I believe next week what I will do is when the clay is a little bit more firm, like more leather hard, I could then kind of sketch in a bit of an iris. But see how that did? It gave it some personality in the eyes already. And I used the plastic because it was a good proportion. They almost look like they're very dilated pupils in proportion to the face. But that's how I got my pupils, was just by pushing in. I'm going to leave the eyes like this for now, because really refining details we're not there, because the clay, it's just too wet. But I do feel like my face kind of has a meanness to it, like a cold-hearted. There's just something there already. Are you looking for something in particular?
No, I just last time checked to make sure everyone's names were on these.
Oh, that's a good idea. Are they?
There's one. This one.
Is that someone in this class is the one that Sarah has? I'm sure it is. We just want you to sketch your name or initials in it. Thank you. Would you want, I don't know if, are you working back there? Because I would say if you wanted to carry them to the back room, but I don't know if there's any shelves open right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of working.
Yes, well then you don't need to do it. I just want to make room for our heads.
No, I just was looking, loitering over by your spot. But yeah, I
Oh,
did this
yeah.
on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Yeah. See this one. Maybe that's on the front. Oh yeah. Yes, it's right there.
You're just going to have to go to a further bathroom.
Okay, I'll just.
Unless you want to use that single stall. That one makes me so nervous that I'm always worried.
Why did they close that?
Because there are just too many students that just hang out in there. Like that bathroom has gotten to have a bad trend of people just hanging out in there like it's like a fun place to be. And other students have expressed their discomfort in the fact that they don't feel comfortable going in there.
Oh, there's always that one.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go to the third.
Yes. Who's here, I'll put it on here.
There you go.
Who is
I didn't see it.
because we just want to get okay, we just want you to put your name or initials on it. No.
No, if you just do it very lightly, you should be fine.
Do you want me to just put, is it JN?
I think the rest of these are good. Yeah, these should be good. I think I checked the rest of them
Perfect.
the other day.
Oh, I just got so hungry. My stomach just went.
Do you think that this was that looks like the right one? I mean, I know it shrinks, so that's
Yeah.
why it's smaller, but that seems
I
like
think
a good.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. You can set that one back unless you're not done.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I am done. JN. My cold-hearted. And I'm like, I don't
You
like.
did what?
I've done heavy-hearted and light-hearted,
You
and
did
now I'm gonna do
lighthearted.
cold-hearted.
Okay. Lighthearted was last term.
Yeah.
You had a balloon heart above you.
Well, I'm gonna do that. I gotta get wired. I should make the hearts to put in the thing. All right, how are our eyeballs coming along, people? Are they coming along okay? And if you kind of want to laugh at your head, it's normal because they do look pretty goofy at first. They can look kind of creepy. They can look odd. The eyeball is done. I should take note. Who's here? Who isn't? So should say. People are taking. What test was it today? Like a bio. What was it? No, calculus. AP Cal. Well, did you? It looks like they're not really covering the eyes, so you could add a little more and just have it kind of cover a little more. Yeah. So did you put it on here, but not here?
Oh no, I didn't do this.
Okay. Yeah. And then you can and then as it gets to be a little more leather hard, you can take a little paintbrush and water and smooth things out. Next week, once we get all the basic kind of facial features on, then it gets really fun because then you start just putting details and refining it. And we'll have all next week to work on these and have them finished a week from today.
I'm gonna go on Tuesday and Thursday and Friday.
Okay. I know, it's gonna be. Well, you know what? We'll just figure it out. We'll just see. We'll just try to get all of it kind of done on Monday.
Okay.
Not all of it, not the details, and then we'll just wrap it up. Maybe keep it in the wet room. Yours just might not be done until the last week, which will be
Is that
fine.
our last project? Oh, okay. I'm just kidding.
Nope. Nope. Because how many days? Yes. Oh, I just realized I should probably